Welcome back to another episode of Life in the Stands podcast. We have Jake and Zach on the podcast today. We're really excited to jump into some NFL content. We're going to kind of talk about the evolution of the league a little bit and just kind of where we see things going offensively and defensively. We got to do week 4 game picks, obviously, as well. And we'll do some WNBA content at the end for our player of the week. With that, Bender, we want to thank everyone for liking and subscribing, watching on all platforms. Appreciate all the support with everyone. With that, Bender, we're going to jump into this conversation a little bit around quarterback play in the NFL from what we grew up watching compared to kind of how it is now. And I'll set up this conversation just kind of by saying, we watched Breeze, who is the all-time NFL leading passer. We watched Brady, who pretty much everyone would consider the GOAT at this point. We watched Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. We watched Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, who's still there now. We watched Brett Favre. Like there was just a golden age of these quarterbacks, right? Where it just seemed like the whole league had a decent quarterback. And maybe there were like 6 to 8 teams that were really struggling, right? But like 20 to 25 of them like had a decent starter in there. Now when you look around the league, like passing yards have dropped considerably, trending down over the last 5 to 10 years. Scoring is trending down over the last 5 to 10 years. Is it something defenses are doing? Do you think the level of quarterback play is just lower now than what it was? What do you think is happening here, Bender?
I think it's just different. Um, the way I'll put it is you see a lot more mobile quarterbacks in today's day and age. We did get the chance to see guys like Michael Vick, maybe a young Russell Wilson, just because he gets out of the pocket when he was in Seattle. Not anymore. He's an old man. But the way I'd like to put it is we're not seeing the 5,000 yards because we're seeing it in different ways, in different schemes. Lamar Jackson is more than likely the leading rusher for his team every week, or Josh Allen, all those kinds of guys. So I think it's kind of evolving as well as like in any league, like the talent is evolving. So talent, schemes, everything you kind of have to keep in mind. That's like comparing like what we saw with MJ's stats versus like what LeBron's doing. It's a little bit elevated, right? Like it might just be going the other way with football. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, now I personally think we'll eventually see that again. I think it's going to be like an up and down thing because once you see like scheme changes or even rule changes, like the kickoff just changed this year, like there's a bunch of different things that can happen. I wouldn't necessarily call it boring either. I feel like it's more like a strategy type of game now, as well as like maybe a little bit of talent. Obviously, you do need the players in order to win. But you're kind of seeing how the Steelers are winning. They didn't even score a touchdown in their first win of the season against the Falcons. So schematically, things are different. Talent is different, and it's kind of cool to see. I don't know what your thoughts on it, but
Yeah, I mean it's definitely different. I feel like when did Lamar get drafted? Was that 2018?
dude, that's
I think
pop
I
quiz right there. I
Yeah,
don't know.
pop quiz. Yeah, sorry. Bender didn't study, neither did I. But like that kind of seems to me like the kind of start of it all. But then you also look at Patrick Mahomes' rookie season. He passed for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in his rookie season.
Yeah.
I don't
Also,
think
2018. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think Patrick Mahomes has done that since. I don't think he's passed for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns since. And I can actually pull up his stats here real quick. He had 5,200 yards passing in 2022, but only 41 touchdowns and 12 picks. He had 5,100 yards and 50 touchdowns his rookie year in 2018. So I think another thing, so obviously, that's a little bit on the player side of things, right? And we've had some really talented QBs come into the league that are dual threats. Even, a guy that's not as great of a passer, but you talk about a guy that could lead his team in rushing yards any game, Justin Fields,
Hmm.
but schematically, I think there's a lot going on too, because I think Mahomes and Tyreek Hill broke defenses. Like in all honesty, I think that like that combination, and then also you look at like the Brady Randy Moss or the Brady West Welker, the Brady Gronk. Like I think there's been a couple connections over the course of league history that it's like it has changed the way the entire league has played defense. I think so. Two more stats I'll share, and then I'll kind of let you jump into your next argument. One stat is that every single top 10 highest scoring season from any NFL team in NFL history happened in the 2010s. So historically, like that is the most productive scoring era that we've ever had in the NFL. So we talk about what we grew up with. Like we could also just be spoiled because we grew up in literally the
Yeah.
highest scoring era ever. Passing yards are also down, like I mentioned. Like it was like 250, 260 average passing yards a game for teams across the league. Now it's under 200.
Yeah.
So there's significant differences. Schematically speaking, I think there's a lot more too high. We heard Mel Kiper Jr. talk about this a little bit ago, and it was kind of funny. But if you go back and look at the data, like defenses are playing so much more cover two,
Yeah.
so much more too high looks. Even if it's like a cover six or a cover four or whatever it is, they're just not playing as much man. They're not playing as much single high, and they're basically saying if you can drive 12 plays, 14 plays, and go score, go ahead. But you're not going to beat us over the top. You're not going to have these one play touchdowns. You're not going to put up 40 points a game on us.
And that's kind of where I was getting at, like the schematic changes, right? Like with the evolution of the game. And the other thing I would like to say is like where I'm coming from in regards to it's going to fluctuate, like I said. I feel like there's going to be a point in time where these mobile quarterbacks can't stay healthy long enough for people to want to keep going with them. Like Josh Allen will eventually have an injury. Hate to break it to you. Lamar Jackson has had injuries. Mahomes has had injuries, like minor ones.
Going
But
back
it's
even a little
happened.
bit further to RG3, like
RG3.
RG3 was incredible and just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah. So I feel like there is going to be a point in time where some teams in the league might want to transition back to like a pocket passer or something. More of like you can still be mobile. Like Big Ben was strong, but a little bit mobile enough to like just at least get forward a little bit. But like they're eventually going to transition and it's eventually going to fluctuate those numbers again.
Right.
One thing I would like to figure out at some point, which again, we didn't do our homework on this. I wish we would have. Like how the rushing yards from QBs have changed since then. Just because of what I'm saying with like being a mobile quarterback. I think that would be kind of interesting to look at. And I think if without even looking at it, they definitely went up, right? Like there's
Yeah.
just no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to marry like, how many like total yards that quarterbacks were responsible for versus like total yards now. Because then you just marry QBs
Yeah.
back then might have passed for 250 and ran for 20. Now are QBs passing for 200 and running for 50 or 60? Like that's
Yeah.
very different. And yeah, I think about things like Tom Brady had 1,000 rushing yards in his career.
Yeah.
Like Lamar does that in a season. Like Lamar has done that in a season before. So it's entirely different. It is, would you say it's more entertaining? Because it's lower scoring, but if you look at each individual play that's going on, like there's more that could happen, right?
Yeah, I would honestly say it's more entertaining. Just from a sport perspective, scheming and coaching, I think it's kind of cool to look at. But then at the same time, a lot of the big plays happen when you're out of the pocket.
Right.
So, like, that's where you're looking at big plays, shot plays, Tyreek Hill, all those guys. So,
Yeah. Definitely. It's an interesting conversation to have. There's obviously a lot of data to back up and support the idea that like scoring is down, QB efficiency is down, like all that kind of stuff. But like we're kind of arguing here, we don't necessarily think that's because the talent is down or anything like that. We just think it's different. Schemes are different. And what NFL teams are trying to do to win games now is just it's a different strategy.
yeah, it's just something you don't think about every day, which makes it a fun conversation to have because you're like, well, this is here, but then we're talking about this. We got to look back. Like, it's just a whole
Right.
bunch of revolving door, full circle conversation, but it's fun. But moving on to our next little segment here, we are going to do game day picks. We are releasing Thursday mornings now, so Thursday games are included in these picks, which includes my Dallas Cowboys playing the Giants in New York.
Cowboys. I think they bounce back heavily in this one. And I think the Giants can't sustain the level of play that they had.
I mean, they beat the Browns, right? Like, so it is what it is. The Cowboys will bounce back and blow them out like they did last year. But the next game here we got is Jets Broncos in New York.
Like the Jets in this one, especially since they're at home. Um, I think they're going to start to get in a roll here.
Yeah, I think they're kind of finding a rhythm, especially in their run game. Braylon Allen and Brees Hall combined are going crazy and helping out
Braylon,
Aaron Rodgers a lot. Kind of reminds you of like the committee he had in Green Bay for a while.
yeah,
But
Braylon
the next
Allen
game
is
here,
ridiculous.
yeah. Next game here is the Minnesota Vikings in Green Bay.
Mm. I think I like the Vikings in this one. Darnold's got the energy a little bit right now. I kind of said that I thought they might still be okay just because how many weapons there are on offense. Seems like Darnold's okay. It seems like he's going to be all right. So, yeah. And then the Packers, like, obviously they're doing some good stuff too. Jordan Love's kind of up in the air. He'll be back before JJ McCarthy, but I think the Vikings got the momentum.
Yeah, I agree as well as I don't think Malik Willis will be able to maintain his level of play. Um, call me a hater all you want to, but the Minnesota Vikings defense is for real, and I think they're going to get to him, especially now since there's film on him. So
Brian Flores is for real.
yes,
That man is psychotic.
exactly. Exactly. So Vikings in that one for both of us. I got Saints versus Falcons in Atlanta.
Mm. This is an interesting game too. Saints feel super up and down now. At first it was just like, wow, and now it's like, ooh, okay, we can go both ways. Um, I like the Falcons. I like the Falcons in this one.
I like the Falcons as well, but I still think the Saints defense will stay consistent. So I don't know what kind of game it'll be. Could be a repeat of like Atlanta versus Pittsburgh week one, maybe.
Right. Low scoring, I
Um,
think.
yeah, that's the kind of feel I'm getting from this. Kamara is a little bit banged up. I know he missed practice today, with like a rib and back or rib and hip injury, something like that. So
And he's not playing the Cowboys, so he's due for like a quarter of the production he normally gets.
exactly, it's great. We got Eagles going to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers.
I've been super high on the Buccaneers this whole season, and last week was the first week they kind of like slipped up, I would say. I'm still gonna stay high on the Buccaneers. I think they beat the Eagles. I also think they just kind of have the Eagles number.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close game. Being a Cowboys fan, it's kind of tough, but I will be choosing the Eagles on this one. Finally got a way to get Dallas Goedert going, who was struggling the first couple weeks of the season. I think that's a big key to their offense. Definitely gonna miss Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. I understand that whole situation is what it is, but they still have a run game. They still have play calling, which, maybe they'll actually kick a field goal now and win a game.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that game plays out, but that should be one of the better 1 o'clock games. One game I'm not really excited for is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Panthers.
I think because I think the Panthers are gonna win. Oh boy. I mean, I just hope that Andy Dalton pulls it out just for his sake. Honestly, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, just to play
Bengals
the whole
0 and
team.
4. Yeah, like
Yeah.
bringing the like if you look 2 weeks ago, everyone's like, oh, the Bengals are okay. Like, they're gonna be fine. They start 0 and 1, they start 0 and 2 a lot. And the Panthers, it was like the world is on fire. Everything is wrong. Turn over the whole organization, trade Bryce Young. And now here we are 1 week later, and it's like Andy Dalton could make the Panthers 2 and 2 and push the Bengals to 0 and 4.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to think about. But I still have the Bengals. I'm choosing the Bengals. The offense is clicking. The only concern I have for the Bengals is their defense. Got smoked by Jaden Daniels. I wasn't sure if that was like a prime time game for Jaden Daniels just showing out like one time thing, or if he's for real. I think he's for real. But the Bengals have some defensive mishaps that need to be taken care of.
Issues.
Um, Jaguars going to Houston to play the Texans.
I'll take the Texans. I've been low on Jacksonville the whole offseason, and I feel like that is coming to fruition now too. They're not a good team. I don't think they're a good team. They overpaid Trevor Lawrence. There's not enough pieces there.
Again, I'm done talking about the Jags every week, so Texans are Texans are
Yeah.
winning this one. What about the Steelers versus the Colts?
This is an interesting one. I feel like this is just a game the Steelers lose just because it's the Steelers. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be high on them after how they looked against the Chargers, but like being a Steelers fan, this is the moment where I recoil a little bit and I'm like, ooh, Anthony Richardson, like extremely mobile quarterback, high end plays. Like we'll probably force some turnovers. We'll probably like the game will be close, low scoring, whatever. But I just have a feeling that the Steelers drop this one to the Colts.
You and I feel a little differently about this one. You were talking about Anthony Richardson turning the ball over, and still losing. I think that's why the Steelers will win, is because Anthony Richardson will make mistakes. Playing against a high level defense, healthy defense at that. Cam Hayward making big plays in the run game, everything. So JT is going to get shut down. AR-15 is going to have to throw that thing around, and that's just not a situation you want to be in, especially against the Steelers defense. So I have Pittsburgh winning this one,
Cam
and sadly
Hayward,
going 4-0.
yeah, Cam Hayward might look the best right now than I've seen him in the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and it's a great time to do it when you're healthy and you see what your full potential actually is.
Yeah, that he's playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah. Let's go to Rams versus the Bears.
This is a good one. Rams pulled out a crazy win against the Niners. I don't know if they're going to come into this game really high off that or like without enough energy. Um, but I still like the Rams in this. I'll trust Sean McVay.
Yeah, I agree with you. We haven't disagreed a whole lot except for your Steelers, which is weird.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I think the Rams and Matthew Stafford still have enough to get by the Bears, and I think it's just because I think they can grind it out against the Bears with Kyron Williams.
yeah,
He went off last week. He was basically the only person that scored last week for them. And then Tutu had a big play down the field. I just like saying his name at this point, Tutu.
same tutu.
Um, but no, I think they have enough to win. They have a young defense that's kind of steady. They're not exactly like flashy about it, but they definitely have a decent defense. Caleb Williams hasn't shown me enough to really go with the Bears at this point.
I agree.
Um, and let's move to another fun game. I like to call it the Commanders versus the Cardinals.
This is a fun game. This will be where we can see if Jaden Daniels is for real.
Hmm.
Um, and we can also see if Marvin Harrison Jr. wants to be consistent and not like blow up for hundreds of yards and multiple touchdowns in a quarter and then you know. So yeah, I'm excited for this game. This is an interesting one. I feel like the supporting cast is better in Washington right now. McLaurin, Eckler,
Eckler's out.
so maybe not. Brian Robinson Jr. though still stable enough defense. I'm gonna go Commanders here. This is a toss up to me though. This game is a toss up.
I think it's going to be oddly high scoring, just like
Yeah,
the Bengals game was with the
I agree.
Commanders. Um, but I have the Cardinals in this one. I kind of have a little bit of hope for them, and I don't know why. Marvin Harrison is kind of the reason I'm gaining some kind of hope for them. Two consistent weeks in a row after the week one dilemma. Um, and I just kind of want to see again if he stays consistent because once he's consistent, that whole team just starts moving. So,
Yeah.
and that showed in their wins. So, or a win, sorry. Um, Patriots versus Niners. Niners are banged up, but I think that's an easy one for both of us.
Yeah, Niners are banged up, but I'll still take the Niners in that game, especially because they just dropped that one to the Rams.
Yeah, that was a tough one to drop to the Rams too after leading the whole game.
Yeah, I'm sure
That
that won't
was
affect NFC West standings at all late in the season.
Let's go to the Cleveland Browns versus the Raiders.
um, oh man, the Raiders. I hope they lose and they trade Devontae Adams to the Steelers. Browns, baby. 1 week I'll root for you.
I hate you for saying that, but it could happen. I think Devontae goes to the Commanders before he goes to the Steelers, though. But
Ooh.
we'll leave that for another side conversation. I have the Browns in this one. Browns defense, again, for real. Amari Cooper finally got it going last week. Hopefully, that's the connection that keeps that team rolling as well. Deshaun Watson last year was hitting him a lot, and they won a lot.
Yep.
I think that's the recipe for them. I'm not saying that has to be the only guy, main focus of their team, but they definitely need to get him touches.
Right.
Moving to the next game, which I'm going to pick the Chiefs over the Chargers, but the Chargers don't look as bad as I thought they would be.
Yeah, I mean they're banged up again now.
Mhm.
So they definitely like I don't know what's going on with both their tackles. Like Slater and Joe Alt both went out of the game against the Steelers. Herbert obviously went out of the game against the Steelers. So yeah, I don't know like what their injury situation is going to be coming into this week.
It sounded like Alt's going to be out.
Yes, I mean that's a big difference for them. But what I will say is I think this year more than any other year, teams that are not good against the run and not good at running will be punished against teams that's their bread and butter. And this is the first time that Harbaugh is going to be playing Patrick Mahomes as the Chargers head coach. So I think the Chargers might actually go in there and just kind of rough up the Chiefs a little bit, keep it on the ground. Um, and this could be the first game the Chiefs drop.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it being a trap game just because the Chiefs haven't really got anything rolling on offense. It has been the defense. J.K. Dobbins, very explosive now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean the dude was
Uh,
averaging 10 yards a carry before he played the Steelers.
okay, stop flexing. But no, I think the Chiefs still win this one regardless, but it could be a trap game for them with how inconsistent their offense is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Probably the game of the week, and it's Sunday Night Football. We got the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens.
Feels like the Ravens have played in a good game every week so far.
Yeah.
Like they've had an awesome schedule. Who Ravens? Think Ravens. I don't. Bills are 3-0. Ravens are 1-2. That's
Hmm.
the only reason why.
You know, say it's a must win for the Ravens, but I feel like the Bills are the best team in the league, and it's not even close.
Mm,
So I'm taking the Bills again on the road. If the Bills win, I think that's like the biggest statement you can make if you're them at this point in the season.
wow.
Like we're actually here. Like I know they haven't played necessarily the best teams in the world at the moment, but they're handling the business that they need to handle. And now they finally have a playoff caliber opponent. I know what the record shows, but I think this is their statement win. And let's go to
You're waiting for
and
me to say something back as I grin from
yeah, you look like
playoff
you were about to say
caliber
something.
opponent. It's like
Yeah.
2-2.
But no, let's go to a Monday night game. There's another Monday night doubleheader. Um, I'm not watching this one personally. Tennessee Titans versus Miami Dolphins.
Is is there nothing exciting about those two teams right now?
Maybe Tyreek Hill after
Yeah.
that. Tell me what's up.
Yeah, you mean him running routes on air? Because he's not getting the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah.
Not with the quarterback that they're gonna have to play.
Getting
Uh,
cardio in.
yeah, yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's kind of an ugly game. Will Levis might be the most entertaining part of that one, Mayo Boy. He's on a generational run right now with those screenshots. Honestly, we should just take this every screenshot of him from the previous week and just make that our thumbnail for these predictions. But either way, yeah, I'm gonna pick the Titans just because I want to see Will Levis stay their starting quarterback for as long as possible.
That's fair. That's funny. You're stupid. But no, I have the Dolphins winning. And it's because I hear that there's a chance that Huntley starts for them. Who obviously
Ooh.
wasn't a terrible backup, believe for the Ravens. But no, I have the Dolphins. It's going to be such a weird game. I don't even care who wins that game, but if we have to pick somebody, why not? Uh, um, last game could be one of the best games of the week. We got the Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions in Detroit.
In Detroit, I think wins this game. Yeah, I like the Lions in this one. I think Jared Goff also returns to form a little bit. He's been turning the ball over a lot, reverting back to his like Los Angeles Rams days. I think he kind of settles into the season a little bit and starts to show his Detroit Lions self.
So I stayed with the hot team with the Buffalo Bills, who are 3-0 currently, and I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks to go 4-0 as well, just like the Bills. Um, yep. So
I don't know if that's the right way to shoot, but
other way. There you go. Good job. Dear Lord.
it's
All right.
America.
But no, I have the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, absolute beast. Geno Smith seems to be in a rhythm right now. Um, I just like the way their team's rolling. I feel like this team's been a playoff caliber team the last couple of years. They just are falling short because of teams like the Niners and the Rams in the same
Yeah.
division.
Yeah, I think last year was tough with injuries too. They were all pretty banged up. And it was also time to move on from the head coach. Mike McDonald is bringing the juice in Seattle, especially defensively. So I can see that pick. But I believe that's all of our week 4 NFL predictions. So with that, we'll wrap up the episode here with our player of the week. And we're going to jump into talking about the WNBA a little bit here at the end. We're going to recognize Napheesa Collier, who went off for close to 40 points in her first WNBA playoff game for the Minnesota Lynx. It was on like 60% shooting too. She did shoot 60% from three, over 90% from the free throw line. Absolutely went off. I think that Lynx team, if she continues to, she can have 1 or 2 games like that a series. I don't know, like that could do something. WNBA playoffs are really exciting to watch as well. Those are kind of in full steam. Caitlin Clark didn't have a great first playoff game. She struggled, a good bit, but yeah, it'll be exciting just in general, kind of see how these WNBA playoffs play out with all the talent that's in the WNBA at this point. Should be really fun to watch.
Yeah, having games like that too, it's like such a difference maker, and especially like strategizing in the future games of that series. Like you can't mess around now. Like you have to figure out a way to play against her
Right.
specifically rather than like I don't know, just like a random role player, right? Like it's just kind of it throws a wrench in your original plans, especially doing that in a game one or early game in the series. Like it's definitely a game changer.
Throws it off. We'll see how they adjust. But that's another episode of Life in the Stands podcast. Want to thank everyone again for watching and listening on wherever you're getting your podcasts. Appreciate everyone's support. Remember to like and subscribe and drop us a comment on what you would like to hear next. And we'll see you on the next episode.